Good morning, everybody in Empowered Soul Network. Another great day, sunny day, beautiful day. I am here this morning with Carl Stedmond. He is a self-empowerment coach, a singer-songwriter, hugely talented, empowered soul. Welcome, Carl, to Empowered Soul Network.
Thank you, Paul. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be with you and the audience here.
Where are you calling in from today?
Uh, Ontario, Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
Sure. Welcome, Canadians.
Yeah.
So, Carl, take us on a little bit of a journey, share a little bit, and then I'll come back and ask another question. Let's have a nice conversation here. But take us on a little journey. What was it that inspired you to do the work you do today, including the singing and songwriting? Were there challenges early in your life or callings? How did that work for you?
Many challenges, Paul, that you'll probably realize. I'm from Britain. I'm from Liverpool in England. And growing up, I was in a wheelchair for 3 years. And then from the age of 8 to 11, I was in a wheelchair. And at the age of 14, I discovered Bruce Lee. It changed my life many years ago. And they didn't have a Kung Fu club or Jeet Kune Do in our area all them years ago. So I started karate. So I've been doing karate now for over 50 years and still teaching. And I've changed an awful lot the way I taught after a shift in consciousness. So I left England in 1988, came to Toronto, Canada. Then I opened my own dojo, a karate club, and I started doing. Started to do it full time, and I started teaching many things in the club, including kickboxing. I was a personal trainer, weight training. And I was always very inspired to empower people to the power that they hold within, mostly back then physical and going for the dreams, which I done. And then in 2005, I went through a dark period in my life where I had an awful lot of loss, which I've since found out an awful lot of people go through that. And I had a shift in consciousness and I had a mystical experience about the essence of who I really was.
Wow. So what was okay, for people that are listening, I love these journeys and the authenticity that people like you share because it gives them hope and inspiration. What could you describe a little bit about what that darkness felt like? What were you going through?
Yeah. Well, within about a 1 year period, I got divorced. My father died. I broke my ankle. I lost my house. All in a very quick period of time, and it was like a nightmare that you wake up every morning and think it's not a nightmare, it's real,
Yeah.
And then I became a huge fan of Eckhart Tolle, and I started to understand the things in my life that it wasn't the things that were happening in my life that was causing the pain. It was my thoughts about them things that caused all the suffering. And I started to go on a spiritual path. And as I say, I had a mystical experience.
Yeah. What was that point, that step through the threshold that made you shift to then go start reading Tolle and so on? Was there a place where you said that's enough, or what happened that made you move that forward step?
I surrender, basically. I surrendered to life itself, because my life wasn't working. And I was quite successful, most of my life, self-employed and that. But then when I went through this dark period of life, I surrender. What am I doing wrong, And then little coincidences would happen here and there. And I picked up the power of now, probably a couple of months after it was written many years ago.
Right.
And I started to understand that a lot of these things, well, probably all these things, I was creating myself.
You're attracted to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those laws of attraction, who we're with
Yes.
and what we do, the decisions we make. And so that's just fascinating to me. What was the first, I know you talked about the mystical experience, so we'll go there in a minute, but what was that first mind shift that happened? What was that first concept that shifted, that started you then searching more?
Yeah, well, I was watching one of Eckhart Tolle's DVDs called The Flowering of Consciousness.
Mhm.
And when he spoke about, it's not the things that's happening in your life that's causing the pain, it's your thoughts about them. And at that very moment, I still remember where I was sitting, because I just had for the closure on my home. I went bankrupt, and there and then I got it, that I was consistently thinking about what I had, what I've got now. So dwelling on the past, I'm worried about the future. So I started to become self-aware of my thoughts. So that was the biggest thing.
Yeah, man, I can relate and resonate. And I've interviewed so many people that have a parallel journey. You know,
Yeah,
there's this moment where you just go, wait, time out. I got to make a change.
yeah,
Something has to shift.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, Paul.
And what was that? Talk about the mystical experience, because I hear a lot of very unique divine things that happen,
Yeah,
metaphysical, spiritual things. So tell us a little bit about that, if you would.
yeah, it was around the same time, and probably I think it might have been a couple of weeks before that. And I was literally just in the bath and dwelling on my thoughts. And all of a sudden, it's hard to put some of these things into human words, because it's out of these world experiences, as you know, Paul. All of a sudden, I was in a space of uh, light. I My life flashed in front of me, of all the past that I'd gone through, like being in the wheelchair, being disempowered, and then becoming self-empowered through the martial arts, and then all the pain of my life of the divorce and my father's death and all that. So it was all so real, but around all these things that I perceived as negative, there was an absolute love around this. And I got to the point where that I was in the present moment where it was. But then I actually see myself on stage singing. So I've seen a possible future from that. But the biggest message I got from it was, I'm with you, and I will always be with you. Some might call it God, but the word God has been so misused. Universal consciousness, whatever you want to call it, was the divine energy that embraced me. It changed my life forever.
Oh, I'm getting goosebumps, get chills. Yeah, I can relate. What then? So from that epiphany, from that
Yeah,
awareness, that
yeah,
divine awareness,
yeah,
what became the first steps that you took to organize yourself to move forward?
yeah. Well, one of the first things I'd done, I still had my martial arts club at the time. I went and put a huge sign on my dojo, because, of course, when you got a karate and kickboxing club, you get some guys
Yep.
coming in, and the dads want their little Johnny to be a tough guy, not always, but you get a lot of that. So I went in and put a huge sign on changed my sign from the Liverpool School of Martial Arts, which I was very, very proud of. Very proud to come from Liverpool, because they had the highest standard of karate, one of the highest standards in the world. So I put pressure on myself to keep that standard high. I changed the name to the Harmony Center, which proclaims love, peace, and harmony. It was about 30 feet by 12 feet. So you walked in, you could not miss this sign. And I put a Mayan sign there, which means a shift in consciousness. And I tried to educate people as much as I could that martial arts is not about fighting, it's about self-empowerment, to give you the confidence to go for your dreams. So that was one of the first things I done.
You know what I hear you saying, and I ask these questions to people all the time that have spirituality connections and want to share that, is that it's great to have that in a retreat or when you're meditating, But now, how do you take that and make it practical and useful when you go into the office and people are upset or the kids are cranky? And how do you leverage that? So, what I hear you saying, Carl, which is beautiful, is you took that divine mystical experience and you displayed it out for the world to see, right?
Yeah.
How did that feel when you actually stepped back and looked at that?
Well, you know what, Paul? It's funny. I think about that, and when I come out of that experience, it would have been so easy to go, "Well, wow, that was interesting." But I knew it. It was self-realization. I thought from this moment on, I'm going to teach as many people or help them become aware that there is a divine essence that is in each and every one of us. And it felt incredible. I mean, so to be honest with you, some of my instructors were like, because I taught at that point about 20 black belts, in karate and kickboxing, and they were looking at Sensei Carlos. What's going on? It's all about love and peace, But I'm still a very grounded guy, Paul. Still am to this day. That we can still live in this world, although we're not of this world. We know we're soul having a human experience. And I try to let them know that there's more to life than what we can see, than what we can feel. But it felt great because I started to talk about energy, because as we know, everything is energy, everything's a vibration. So we're trying to talk to them because I believe science and spirituality have met. Quantum physics, so I'm a huge fan of quantum physics, and try to explain them to them in layman's terms, because I consider myself a very grounded guy, and I'm going forward a bit here, but at my first CD I done, I co-created with Mr. Dan Clancy from a band called Lighthouse. So they're a big band, so you can call me the Law of Attraction in Action. The first CD I named The Diary of an Uneducated Man, because I had very little formal education. I left school at just 15 years of age. So all my wisdom, I would say, came from after school. And the books I started to read about reality, like Einstein's and Tesla, and the great masters. They've all been teaching the same thing that quantum physics is now pointing to. So try to teach in layman's terms.
Yeah, I mean, you really have been channeling your Karate Kid, Mr. Miyagi here, right? I mean, that's the whole point of that show, and that really brought. I know people that they got into karate or taekwondo. My son did because of those movies and the energy of the clarity and beauty of that. That's just so fascinating. So marry with us today, Carl, the energy part of helping people to work with their energy through the dojo and the singing and the songwriting. How is that all getting together?
Yeah, well, to me, it's all life. And I go through Tim Hortons, which is a coffee shop you might know in Canada. I try to make a difference to whoever I meet, because as you know, Paul, to awaken to who you are is the greatest gift we can have, to know there's no such thing as death. Consciousness moves on. And so I try and bring it out in whatever I do in a simple way, just be kind, do the best you can, and follow your dreams, follow your heart, and you will achieve your dreams, because we talk about the law of attraction. I call it the law of attraction in action. And everything is a vibration. So I'll let people know, wherever you are in your life, whatever you're vibrating at, if you're angry, there are modalities you can release that anger, get rid of that. But wherever you are, you're going to meet like-minded, people and experiences in your life. So if you want to change your life, and I've been using the quote by Gandhi for many years, you be the change you want to see in the world. Little did I know when I started to use it that quantum physics has now proven that. So I don't know if Gandhi knew that, but it's so powerful.
Yeah, the wisdom of those masters from eons of time. There's nothing. It's somewhat. I always find in some way there's nothing new in the world, really. It's just people's approach to it, how they express it, how they sing about it, and so on. So have you written a song about that? The kindness, the
Yeah, I've written quite a few, Paul. My first CD is basically my awakening in song. So there's a song called Go Within. There's another one called The Secret, actually, which is about the law of attraction. I wrote a song about my mystical experience called The Light. These are on iTunes as well.
yeah.
I wrote a song called 2012 because my experience happened in 2005. And the media was trying to portray 2012 as the end of the world. But
Yeah.
when you really look deeply, it was about the shift in energy that was, we were becoming a new, almost a new planet. People were waking up to who they were. There's quite a few songs on the album that touch. I wrote another one called Sins of the Father, which is about, we know as children download everything from a very young age. And most of us have grown up with parents that weren't truly conscious. So they pass that on to us, and it goes from generation to generation until we can break that. So one of my songs called Sins of the Father. So yeah, a lot of my songs are about it, Paul.
I know you're not set up in the studio. Do you want to sing just a couple lines of the Go Within or Sins of the Father for us?
Okay, Sins of the Father goes, my father told me long ago, his dad told him as well, you know, our faith is the only one. Great granddad said, but now he's gone. So that goes into, don't listen to what others say. Our God's the one, so let us pray. So then we become Catholic or Muslim or whatever it may be. And then we got religions fighting against the other religions when we know it's all the same thing, but it's been maybe switched up a bit. And people not quite understanding what it is all about, which is love, really.
For doing that. I didn't mean to put you on the spot there, but my family is very, very musical. One of my daughters is a performer, has done Broadway in New York
Wow.
and so on. My wife grew up with the Philadelphia Orchestra. Her father played bass trombone there. So just love music. My favorite quote of all time, and I want you to speak to this, Carl. My favorite quote of all time is, of all earthly music, that which reaches farthest into heaven is the beating of a truly loving heart.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Well, love is the highest energy that we have, I think it was David Hawkins wrote a book, Power versus Force, and there's a graph, and love is the highest of energy. And I'm very, of course, I'm from Liverpool, so I love the Beatles, but the song All You Need Is Love.
Yes.
It talks about nothing you can do that can't be done, nothing you can sing that can't be sung, nothing you can say, but you can learn how to play the game. It's easy. All you need is love. And all these great bands and musicians, a lot of them tapped into that,
They
And it's
do.
simple, Paul, isn't it? It's so simple, really.
Just they can't get enough of it. I mean, there's so many creative people that, what comes to my mind is that is that what happened to you back when you surrendered? Is that you began to open up just to the love of myself and the love of what I have done and the love of a good friend of ours said, be kind to your future self.
Yes.
Yeah, talk about that a little bit. That love really, where was that in that beginning of transition?
Yeah. Well, I think I was in so much pain and fear that wasn't really coming through. It was blocked off. But after that surrender and that embrace of love, and I realized that I was that with all that, but we've got so much fear. The news media doesn't help, as we know, and that blocks it off. You asked me before about my song Go Within.
Yeah.
And so I started to go within a lot more, and I stopped watching news media probably about 15 years ago, because I understood what it was doing to the body, to the subconscious mind. And we're all love, but we've all got this tar around us that life can sometimes come on top of you, you know.
There you go. So if someone is listening to this and they're beginning to make that surrender to release the past,
Yeah.
tell me more about what's a first step that person could take, regardless of faith or culture or whatever. What's one thing that they could do that could be positive to move forward?
Become the observer of your own thoughts, because most people talk to themselves and they don't even realize it. And if you got on a bus or a train and there was someone sitting there and they were talking to themselves out loud, well, I will never forget him, what he done. Wait till I see him. When I go over there, I'm going to tell him he's been doing it, mumbling on to themselves out loud. You would
Yeah.
think you're crazy. And yeah, most of us, until you become self-aware, become the witness of your own thoughts, we do it. And that affects the body. Disease becomes disease. And then your vibration, it lowers your vibration, and you're going to get more of the same thing, right? So
Yeah,
become aware of your thoughts.
yeah, it's incredible how you said earlier, spirituality and science is really beginning to marry, and I years ago, this was in one of the major newspapers, diabetes linked to depression. And I really took note of that because it was one of the first times I had seen where medicine was looking at the mindset and how that affects the physical body. And I'll bet I'm sure, have you seen in your dojo students that as they change their energy, they actually have physical healing that happens?
Absolutely. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. And uh, when people are ready for this message, they can change their life completely and live a joyful, beautiful life. Life is joyful. Life is beautiful, and it's our mind that can create all the havoc in our lives, right?
Yes. I have a two-part as we wrap up here, and we'll talk about how we can get a hold of you here in just a minute, Carl.
Yeah.
But I have a two-part question that I love to ask because it gives context to people's hope and again their inspiration. What would the Carl of today say to the Carl of 30 years ago
Um,
or 20 years ago, whatever?
One would be become aware of your thoughts,
Yeah.
and the second one is um, you can create anything in your life. That's my message to everyone, because today's dreams become tomorrow's reality. And I call it the law of attraction in action. Yeah.
And the second part of that question, Carl, is what would the Carl of 20 or 30 years ago say about the Carl that he's observing of today?
Um, what would the young Carl say to the Carl now? Well, probably the state of consciousness I was in then, I'd probably call him crazy. Because it's when you don't know, you don't know. And some of the things that when I first awakened, it was, 20 odd years ago, there was very, very few people that really knew this. But the
Yeah.
Great Awakening is on now, Paul, isn't it? That millions of people all over the world, although they won't show it on the news,
Mhm.
there's nothing going on. It seems like there's nothing going on. But the greatest thing in history of humanity is going on with this awakening. So he probably would have been shocked. And I look back at my life and think, wow, I can't believe where I've gone from where I was.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, even if he's a little bit aware, he would. What do you think one word, positive word would be that he would describe if he had that awareness and he was acknowledging this, Carl.
Amazing.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, Carl, this has been incredible. I always say we could talk for hours, when I interview people. Very exciting, very beautiful. Your creativity is amazing. How can we get in touch with you? How can people reach out to you?
Okay, I'm on Facebook. I'm on YouTube. My channel is called Awaken Now. And they can reach me at my email, cstedmond@yahoo.com.
There you go. And when we get done here, stick around for a minute after we get done with the live, and I'll show you where you can post that in the comments, tag people, and just really get this message out. I think this is a great interview. Any final closing thoughts?
Final closing thoughts is we can all do it. And stop watching the news media. Get the fear out of your life. Observe your thoughts. Go for your dreams, because anyone can achieve their dreams. Follow your heart.
Song of the day. All right, Bill, I appreciate you. Stick around again for just a moment. There you go, Powered Soul Network, an amazing Powered Soul. Carl Stedmond in from Toronto, Canada, Toronto, Ontario, Canada. So appreciate the Canadians. Thanks. Have a great day, everyone. We'll be doing more as we continue on in the week.
Thanks, Paul.
Yeah, I think we're done here. Let me just double check and make sure we're finished with the live. Oh, no, there we go. Here we go.